Pickleball.
It looks like lazy people's tennis, and I think that's what it is people don't want to run, but they want to do something.
It's ping pong without the table. No,
it looks like shitty ping pong. I like ping pong. I don't get pickleball.
Who came up with this shit? Are there stars in pickleball? Are there guys? Jim Sarney was pointing out some local person. I think a woman is like the number one pickleball player. And how come she's not getting more attention? Because the game sucks. Has that replaced shuffleboard in most of these like 5-star senior residences?
It looks like a senior game. It looks like,
and
you want to be active.
From Century Village, right here in Pembroke Pines, it's the National Senior Pickleball Championship. And today, Irving Schwartz is going to go out there. Irving's undefeated now in singles and doubles.
And Saul Bernstein.
The B'nai B'rith is backing today's event. Never mind. I don't think we'll see a lot of old Jewish people at Century Village playing pickleball. Is there a demand in front of the Homeowners Association to put in some courts? Take out the shuffleboard? They have tennis courts there. My mother was always telling me, why don't you come here and play tennis? Because there's like a chalk outline of the last guy that played tennis on the court there. Zakovich, I think was his name. Irving.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning on a Degenerate Friday. Good to be with you here. A little technical issue at the start of the program there. Stuff is going haywire in the Lubie household. Did you buy a haunted house, Mike Lubitz, by any chance? Were you familiar with the previous owners? Do you have any idea who they were, what they were up to? Were there any matters of the occult being conducted in your garage? Do you have any idea what the history of this place is? Did they tell you that? No. It's, we just renovated everything. We've done a remodel here in the kitchen. Look at that. You got a beautiful island there. What more do you want, kid? Give me $600,000. The place is yours.
No, that's
still can't believe my dad balked on buying a waterfront property as opposed to living across the street from the water on Long Island when they were doing all of this expansion out there and just literally like filling in swampland with sand and putting houses there, which ours unfortunately happened to hit the spot. And this is not meant to be in any kind of a way an inappropriate pun or joke or reference to the submersive that they found shattered to bits at the bottom of the ocean there. But our house was the one that sunk. Literally, I mean, you could, sort of, it was a cylindrical kind of feeling there right, as you walk down the stairs because you just kept getting lower and lower and lower, and then you realized that you were below sea level yourself as you were in your basement. Incredible. But for another $2,000 at the time, this was circa 1962. For another $2,000, he could have had a waterfront property that years later would have been worth like millions more. Incredible. I mean, those are some pricey pieces of property now, even in a, schmanky town like Belmore. South Shore, what's that? The peons live down there. All right, the song that's in my head today, Lubie, and I don't know that I want to make this, a steady tradition on the program, but we do like to sing and dance a little bit here on the show. It is an entertainment venue, after all. And I thought this was a song that was sort of rooted in like the breakup of a relationship. I just had to look it up. And it's crying all the time, crying all the time, crying all the time. Any familiarity with that song? Have you heard it before?
Yeah, it's another song.
That's why I'm crying all the time. Everybody in sports is crying. What's up with that? Come on. There's no crying in what was it? Golf? Baseball?
Baseball.
No crying in baseball, yeah.
Take their own. Tom Hanks.
Okay. I mean, the Stanford team, they lose. They're in tears. They're beside themselves. It looked like, the fourth episode of The Bachelorette. I can't believe I was so in love with him. It's like you were with the guy for 2 seconds, man. You guys twisted a couple of pretzels together in some German bakery, and that was it. Made out for a half an hour on the show, and now, who is it? The former Gator quarterback.
Oh, Jesse Palmer.
Jesse Palmer. Yeah, man, he's on everything, huh? I mean, he's selling furniture. There's nothing this guy isn't hawking right now. Fantastic. I mean, and what happened to the other guy? Werfel. Weren't they the two guys that who were the two guys that substituted? It was Palmer and some other schmanky quarterback that they had at the University of Florida. And that was it started that whole thing about, well, if you don't have a number one quarterback, if you're rotating two guys, you don't have a quarterback at all. I could say that with great deal of certainty. That's fact, right? I mean, is that true? If you don't have a quarterback that you can count on there, it was Jesse Palmer and who did you say it was, Lubie?
Doug Johnson.
Doug Johnson. Okay. What happened to Johnson? He did not turn out to be the big Johnson. This
No,
guy.
he did
I mean,
nothing.
Palmer's on everything, and this guy, you never heard of him again, right? Well, what is he? Hanging drywall somewhere? I have no idea. But everybody's crying. And then last night, I bring this up because everybody was crying at the NBA draft. Unbelievable, huh? I understand it. Listen, it's not like I'm insensitive. I don't want to. I know if Tony Segreto is watching the show right now. Tony, I'm sorry, man. His hair is standing up like Don King. What? How insensitive? What kind of cretin could you be? This is everything they've worked for. This is what we wanted, kid. This is what we wanted. Go out there, give me one more round. And I understand that. And maybe I'm just not emotional in that fashion, Lubie. Are you? I mean, if all of a sudden, ESPN came to you and said, hey, listen, we got to get rid of Kellerman. He's a stiff. But, Lubie, we've been watching you. And when you said that the Heat would take Javier Yanquez, that they had a big interest in this guy, even with Cam Whitmore of Villanova being dangled in front of their face. Ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Follow the gold ball there, and eventually he'll fall into a nice deep sleep. You were right. They took him, which, was one of the highlights of my evening last night. Because I actually like this guy. He's a scrappy ball player. One of those guys that, is already immersed, or as Mike Mayo would like me to say, laced with Heat culture. He would be the college definition of a Heat culture player, would you not? Mike Lubitz, would you say that that's a fair statement?
Yes, he screams Heat culture. I mean, I don't know.
Screams Heat culture. He's starting to look like UD, and he barely left college.
They're calling him the Mexican Jimmy Butler.
He might be. It's not an unfair comparison because he doesn't score like in the traditional classic Ray Allen type of shot fashion, does he? It's not like you're looking and going, geez, if they put a fundamental tape out of how to play basketball, this is the guy that I want, as the prime example. But, scraps his way and finds ways to score. He averages like 17 a game. He's also one that capitulates and is willing to, go ahead and defer to other players on the team, try to get them involved. Hustles, man. Hustles all over the place. Well, one of those guys that you would see like in an LA playground and figure, okay, I want that guy on my team. I don't know that equates out to being an outstanding or, a significantly contributing pro. We shall see. But it was interesting because, Lubie, tell me you weren't already mouthing the words. And I don't know why I favored this guy. I saw more of Yanquez than I did of Cam Whitmore of Villanova. And yet, and maybe what? Is that Jay Billis syndrome I'm suffering from? What is wrong with me, Lubie? Can you help me here? Because the entire time, from like the number 4 pick on, I was saying Cam Whitmore. With the 7th pick, they select Cam Whitmore. And then it goes all the way to 18, and you're thinking, Justice Winslow, here you are. You've fallen from Duke right into our lap, man. And we have to take you whether we need you or not, whether we think you're going to be good or not, because everybody thinks that you're the best player available right now, by far. At that point, would it not have been the case? Let me tell me you weren't mouthing the words with Adam Silver, with the number 18 pick in the 2023 NBA draft. The Miami Heat select, and you were saying Cam Whitmore.
No, I didn't know he was a top 4 pick. I thought he was I know he was a top 10 guy. So I'm like, shoot, if you can get a guy.
According to Billis, he should have been taken ahead of Wembenyama. Yamanhuma.
I saw him around. I thought he was a top 10 guy. I'm like, if you can get that guy at 18, he's a forward. He's strong. That's what the Heat need. They need some size and rebounding. I'm like, if they keep the pick and if the guy plays, because again, who knows? Damian Lillard is their goal. So I still don't know what this 18th pick will be for the Heat. But if they keep the guy,
it may be nothing. I mean, it could be like a lot of their 18th picks.
Whitmore seemed to work. But I also know they haven't had a lot of success with the fallen guys. They've had success when they draft guys that no one thinks fits in that spot, but they don't give a shit, and they're going to draft that guy. That when Hero and Bam, both Hero and Bam were slated for late teens, 20s, and they took them in the early teens. And both those guys have turned out to be all-star caliber players. Jovic still hasn't done anything yet, but he's a guy that was like slotted for the second round. The Heat drafted him. And every trade that the Heat are working out,
everybody wants this kid.
Is involved. Like people really like this Jovic kid. Literally, Jokic has taken him under his wing. Like So you know what?
How does a player though of that caliber, where you think he's going to have a breakthrough and maybe pretty quickly, how does he get like zero playing time during the season? Same thing with the Highsmith kid. How is it that you never saw these guys? How far back of the Struces and the Duncan Robinsons of the world can they be?
Well, that's the thing is,
Where in a mediocre season, you don't even take a look at the guy for any extended period.
Highsmith
of time.
played a lot early in the year when the
Right.
injuries were a disaster. Highsmith,
But Jovic, I never saw the guy. I mean, he was
He
on the
was
bench
hurt.
there. And everybody thinks he's great.
he was hurt a lot, and he's super young. He's like 18, 19, I think he turned 19 in the year. So like we're still a veteran laden team. Even when they were injured, even when they were fucking around, they were a veteran laden team. The Heat don't run. The only reason they played Hero and Bam the years that they did play was because they were transitioning. They weren't contending. That was
They were
after
desperate.
three.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were just forcing guys in. Like when they're in this mode, they rarely play the young guys. So that's why Jaquez is interesting. Jaquez isn't a young guy. Jaquez is seasoned, and even though people go, "Wow, if you're 22 and still in college, how good can you be?" The Heat drool over those guys because
He was established. I think going back. He was always a star there at UCLA. I believe even from his freshman year on.
But I'm just, his size. People look at a guy like that and they're like, "Where do you play him in the pros?"
Yeah.
But they don't rush to draft him. So that's why for him it's worth it to just stick around because he's going to go mid-late first round whenever the fuck he goes. So why not try and win at UCLA and then go when I'm older? Like he's not a guy people are drooling over in the NBA to be a 1 or a 2.
If you're running him in on your second unit, though, let's say he gets a little seasoning, and he comes in with your second unit and just adds that spark of hustle.
Yeah.
Where sometimes the starters are in there like 6-7 minutes, and maybe it's not going so well. They had a rough night out the night before, and they're coming in there, pretty much like the New York Yankees did to several afternoon tilts there at the stadium after big benders. And your second unit comes in there and gives you a spark like that. He's the kind of guy that can trigger that, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Well, no. And
Maybe not with 3-point shooting or whatever, but with scoring like in a Jimmy Butler type of fashion.
Well, his 3-point shooting is interesting because 2 years ago he shot almost 40%.
Yeah.
Then the year
last
after
year he was like 30%.
29%.
Yeah.
And then last year he was up to 32%. So it's like, okay, he's shown he can do it. And he's shown the ability. Look, he shoots almost 80% from free throw. That's a big telltale sign is how well guys shoot free throws. Like that's your purest shot. You're wide open. No one's around you. You're shooting a ball. Like, and that's the thing is guys can improve. We always do this thing. Well, wherever they are now, that's who they are. No, that's a load of garbage. Like guys, even the best players, LeBron, like you talked about yesterday, came into the league and people wondered about his shot. Michael Jordan, they wondered about his shot. Kobe Bryant, they wondered about it. Like guys can get better. It's do they want to? Will they put the work in? And that's the problem with Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore, the more they talked about him, and I hate the interview thing. I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, so a guy can answer questions. That means he's going to be able to hit a 3 in the middle of a fucking second round playoff game in Milwaukee. Like, I don't know what the hell that means. But when it's unanimous and they question his practice habits and they question his drive, but when he goes there on a game, he plays well. Some guys that works for, a lot of guys it doesn't. And what we're seeing with Zion, we're seeing with these Cat Williams, like a lot of these guys that don't have that fucking hurt and hustle intangible bullshit, eventually they don't work out. The guys like Jaquez seem to have a higher success rate, heart hustle guys, than pure ability without that. And that's the problem with Whitmore. So we'll see.
All right. Well, we're happy about that. But you pegged it, man. Lubie Brown was in full bloom yesterday on the show here because I remember I was dancing around this Derek Lively guy from Duke, and he went higher than some people. At least the guy. I was only basing my opinion on one mock draft, so. But it wasn't like I'm assuming that this guy's going to get every pick right.
He was drafted higher. He was drafted at like 11.
Yeah.
The Heat, even if he was there, they might have gone for him. Honestly, they need.
I guess officially he ended up being the number 12 pick because there was a swamp of picks there with Dallas, and they ended up with Lively, who. Surprisingly, even though the knock on him was that he wasn't any kind of a presence on the offensive end, but there was some tape of him shooting threes, as if he was in like the 3-point shooting contest, one after another, after being fed the ball, and he was knocking them down. Nice rotation. I mean, it wasn't quite John Sunvold, but he had pretty good form.
He was the number 1 player coming out of high school. The kid has the talent. He just struggled early.
Right. All right. So that was that part of it. Rune Arledge has to be rolling over in his grave, Mike Lubie. It's Rune Arledge, the legendary producer and the guy that created. Ba, 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 ba. We're here today to examine the tragedy. I mean, the agony of defeat. But I mean, think about all the great announcers they had on Wide World of Sports, Libby. Think about it for a second here. You're talking about the Jim McKays of the world, the Jack Whitakers, Haywood Hale Brown. I mean, Cosell, right? Well, wasn't our own lovely and talented one, Leslie Visser? Did she go all the way back to Wide World of Sports? Was she on
I
that?
don't know.
I don't know about that.
No, I don't know.
Not sure. Here we are. The Superstars, maybe? Was she there when they threw Joe Frazier in the pool? I'm not sure. That was a mistake. Chris Schenkel, right? Kurt Gowdy fishing there for trout with Phil Harris and Bing and the boys. Dick Button, maybe. I mean, is it fair to say, Lubie, you weren't that familiar with this guy? But Dick Button, the skating and analyst that they had in the Olympics, did you ever hear this guy? It's Peggy Fleming here, and she is just the epitome of elegance. And there she is, a double sound count. Oh, my God. Oh, the guy was fucking brilliant. And I thought he brought, it was like an early version of Dick Vitale. He actually made you like this shit. Which, I mean, what were you thinking when we were kids and the skating came on? Get out of here, Lubie. I mean, it was almost, I mean, it's not meant in any kind of disparaging way, but people would question your manhood if you were watching the skating, Defo. I wasn't Defo back then, but it's like, yeah, I really liked this one chick, man, from Russia. That was the only reason. But Dick Button made you want to watch it. I mean, these were great announcers, Lubie. And Arledge had to watch last night this travesty. I was assuming, and the only kind of simulcast I really like. Is the simulcast that you get at the track, right?
Yes.
Where you can bet on races from other racetracks. That was a genius concept. If you're simulcasting something on two different channels, do you really need two different crews to do the announcing, Libby? I mean, was it necessary to throw once again? And I keep having to qualify this because it sounds like you're dumping on the guy, but after a while, I mean, enough already with the Stephen A. Smith, a disgrace to ABC, this performance that he put on last night. What was that?
He's a clown.
Has it gotten to the point, though, where he feels, so much pressure to be a clown that, it's actually causing him to morph completely into a real one? Because I met him years ago when, not this last Super Bowl that was in Miami, but like two back, Lubie. I don't think we were working together at the time. I think I was still involved. Were we at that Super Bowl? No. Were we working together when Indy, Chicago?
We never did Stephen A.
Yeah. Okay, because and we saw him a couple of times, and he seemed very gracious about going on other people's shows.
Yes.
And he was kind of quiet, kept to himself while he was, I mean, it wasn't like he was running around the room, in some raging maniac act. Some guys that are in this business, Lubie, they have to be on all the time.
Yes.
And other guys, they do their show, and then later they're kind of subdued by comparison. I mean, you can't expect a guy to just we're in some sense performing, right? So you and Stephen A. may be the classic example of that, at least from what I was able to gather, because off stage and off camera, the guy, it seemed like he didn't even he didn't want to raise his head to talk, right? He almost wanted to just put a cover over his head and be like Adele was when she couldn't face the audience, remember?
Mm-hmm.
She overcame that, huh? How'd she do that, man? Holy Mel Tillis, what was that all about?
Money.
Cash?
Money will help.
Listen, sister, you better turn around. No, these fuckers aren't going to pay $80 a ticket to see you.
It'll help you get over a lot of fears when you see the dollar signs.
Yeah. That's right. I could overcome a lot of my anxiety about doing this sort of work. Anyway, I couldn't take it. I thought, it was safe to go back to like ABC. I don't know. It was somehow easier to punch up on my remote control, which I'm in the dark there. And since we switched to this like cheaper cable system that was kind of came with the homeowners association fee. So it was like silly to pay for it twice, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Kind of stupid. Okay. You're stupid. Should have canceled like 2 years ago. It finally hit us the other day. Oh, you know what? We're paying 2 times a month for the same shit.
Yes.
Unbelievable. But with the cheaper service, there's no light on the remote. Okay. Which sucks, doesn't it?
Probably get it.
Now you're punching stuff up and you're like, what the hell did I do, man? How am I on this? All of a sudden, you're watching a ball game and it's Night of the Living Dead. which I thought the Marlins were last night for a period of time. Anyway, so I thought that they were simulcast, the same broadcasters, which I thought they had a pretty good crew there on ESPN for a rare change. Would you agree, Lubie? I mean, I kind of am a JJ Redick fan because at least he says stuff. I don't know. Some of it may, irritate people. What do you think about JJ Redick?
I liked him when he first came on the scene. He says he does the thing, or he's becoming like the rest of them, where once you get a reputation for something, you can't always make a hot take. So once you start trying to do the hot take all the time, you say a lot of stupid shit.
Yeah.
It's Colin Cowherd. Like Colin Cowherd, I liked Colin Cowherd 20 years ago.
Yeah, but he turned into something bizarre.
He always has to generalize so much where it's like you can't generalize all the time and be right. You're generalizing. Like people are in the gray. They're not in the black and the white. So Cowherd actually gets way more wrong than he gets right now. And I can't stand him.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. When you start, that's why you said Legler. I like Legler because Legler just says what he thinks every time. And he's not trying to, sometimes it's bland. Sometimes it's exciting. Sometimes it's smart. Sometimes
he's not also talking to you with this attitude that,
he's not
you get unfortunately from your man Jay Billis,
he's not trying
who
to go
acts like you couldn't possibly know as much about basketball as he does.
No, he just gives an opinion, and he doesn't care what you think about his opinion. Like
right, as we said, all of his stuff is overanalyzed, as you know, and if it wasn't, we would be out of work. But this whole thing. I mean, why do you have to throw this guy on everything? I understand it, but. And I'm not one of those people. I just you can't bash the guy because he does something that we do in this business, and there are always going to be guys that you look at, and even if you're just somebody that's a fan of announcing, and naturally you feel like you have some kind of relationship with your home team announcers, especially right. I mean, in L.A., I mean Vin Scully was fucking L.A. He was. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing his voice somewhere, on the radio calling, pull up a chair and stay a while, and let's have some Dodger baseball. Brought to you by Farmer John, Lubie. I mean, that's how good the guy was that you remember the sponsor. Is that not the ultimate in terms of marketing? Where, you have some kind of, I mean, you see Vince Scully, and immediately the first thing that comes to mind is what? Farmer John hot dogs. They're unbelievable. Those were pretty good. Those hot dogs we had yesterday, though, that was pretty novel, man. That Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. You would think that it would be maybe somewhat of a downward spiral to your career if you said your last remote was from a chicken farm. What do you think? It's one thing you're at a Hooters, you're at some bar.
It's all how you frame it, because I'll tell you right now,
the strip club at Porky's.
We've been to some places that people would be more excited for us, and I would be more excited to be at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. Like, it's just how you sell it, because the way they treat us there.
Oh, they're great.
Porky's did not treat us the same as they treat us there.
They meant to. They meant well.
But we were in the back room.
It depended who was working that night. Because if it was the guy that wasn't in favor of having the show there in the first place, which probably was a ridiculous concept.
It wasn't liquid. Like,
sports shows and strip clubs, were a big, partnership in back in the day.
They used to put you on the floor.
Yeah.
It's not like, like when I would tell people where we were, they'd be like, "Oh wow, you were in the dressing room." I'm like, no. We were like in the area between the dressing room and the floor, and people were running around all the time, screaming, yelling, bitching, crying, fighting. Like it was not.
It wasn't like you were in, some high-end Las Vegas strip club.
And the strip club, there was like one. Maybe
I don't think you'd see the Greek hanging out there. Is the Greek going to join us? Do we need to? Okay, good. All right, let's do that then. Yeah. I was going to say, no, I mean, after a while, when is enough enough? I mean, Rune Arledge had to be screaming from, that big sports center in the sky, huh? I mean, just saying, really? You couldn't get Lubie Brown on there? Your draft analysis was more astute yesterday than Stephen A. Smith. But after a while, because the guy's just screaming at you, you don't have any idea what he's saying, do you? What is it that he's trying to communicate? Although he was, I did get this, and he was flabbergasted by the Chris Paul for Jordan Poole trade. So I would be more inclined to excuse away and put a line through and describe it maybe as an aberration. Jordan Poole's season last year, because he was showing too much promise to have just wilted like that. Don't you believe? I mean, we have seen it where guys get Steve Blast disease and they lose their confidence to the point where, in Blast's case, it became absurd.
I mean, like in basketball though, like I'm trying to think of him when in basketball have you seen guys just forget how to play? Like baseball, you've seen it. Chuck Knobloch couldn't throw it from second to first. Like
Steve Sachs.
we've seen Rick Ankiel couldn't pitch.
Yeah, good example.
You know, like, but when in basketball, you see guys, shooting percentages range, and Duncan Robinson goes from shooting 45% to 41%. But like, they usually rebound, they usually figure it out. When guys show potential, they usually keep growing or at least stay level. Jordan Poole went from a guy the Warriors were using as a key building block.
He looked great.
Sucked.
2 years ago.
Horrible in the playoffs. Like he was bad.
Well, wouldn't you? I mean, is it weird the way the Warrior organization treated this guy? Because you would think that they would be more inclined to say, "Hey, enough of you already, Draymond Green."
Yeah. The Draymond thing. Look, there's still the people like the Chris Mannixes of the world that are like Draymond's indispensable. I'm like, what Warriors are you watching? He's not the same guy. Defensively, he really wanted on him.
He negates a lot of the positive things that he does. Not just because of the behavior or whatever, but. He makes a lot of mistakes now that he didn't used to make. You're right about that.
That's my thing. Like, no, but this thing, remember, he used to run point guard. I watched plenty of Warriors playoff games. He was not doing that. He used to hit a three, so they would leave him wide fucking open, like he was goddamn Bam out of bio at the 3-point line. And he was either wouldn't take it or was bricking the living shit out of it. Defensively, he could defend 1 through 5. He wasn't defending anyone. Like, I don't know what, maybe I'm missing regular season Draymond. But playoff Draymond sucked.
No, he was like that in the regular season.
He sucked. Like he was. It wasn't even like he was doing 12, 10, and 9. He was doing like 8, 4, and 5. Like he was useless. And I don't know what they're watching. Maybe people still hold a candle for old Draymond. He's not the
crazy
same guy.
Turnovers, the temper tantrums.
Yeah, if you're gonna be a baby and fuck them off the court, then you better be good on it. Like he's not as good anymore. I don't know what they see. And his contract's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand siding with him and not giving. Like, Jordan Poole got fucked. Like, he got punched in the face and no one backed him up.
No one backed him up. They were like, it was on him. I don't know what he was doing that.
Well, Draymond's a loon.
Inspired the ire of Draymond Green. But, you would have to be more inclined to believe that it was Green being out of control than it was Poole being some kind of agitator. All right. Anyway, enough on that. Let's see if we can get to the Greek here, because he usually likes to come on a little bit earlier. So we'll try and catch up with him. Probably coming out of a pedicure somewhere. What do you think? Maybe having his hair blown dry? No, he doesn't do that. He kind of slicks it back. But we'll see if we can catch up with the Greek, very popular character here on the program. A Degenerate Friday is underway. Later on, we'll be out at Gulfstream Park. Speaking of degeneracy, always a favorite place of ours. And be visiting with the great Joe Beja and the 10 Palms people. And that'll be a lot of fun. Stop by and say hello. Good menu there, huh? Reasonably priced for racetrack or, sort of ballpark food.
Yep.
Very reasonably priced, I would have to say, for a high-end kind of
nicer
cultural treatment of being at the racetrack here. I mean, this is how the other half lives, my friends. And yet you're able to go in there with like somewhat pedestrian prices and go and have yourself a blast at Gulfstream Park. We'll be out there later on today. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:37.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Unless it was Cap Day had called her, the woman in my life was getting nothing.
But they get you. I mean, to meet a
Get
guy
out
like
of here.
you,
That's a
where-
disaster.
You know where you at?
One doesn't
Come on,
work.
you got to go to Port Authority like 3 a.m. to meet somebody like you. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Fetal position somewhere in the corner, maybe thinking about just jumping in front of a train.
The Defo Show, featuring Lubie. Welcome back to The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show here on a Degenerate Friday, getting ready to have a full-fledged Degenerate weekend, and nobody better to help us kick it off than this gentleman right here, which, as I was thinking about, we're going to be bringing on the Greek onto the program. What would be an appropriate song for the introduction? And I was thinking about, I believe it was a Stones original, way back in the early days of the Rolling Stones. Your time is gonna come. This man's time has come. And we welcome to the show our good friend, the Greek of Palm Beach and, South Florida, international radio fame and acclaim. Greek, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. I got to ask you a question right
Yeah.
out the gate. And then I got a horror story for you. Do you own a watch?
I'm looking at it, the clock here, and I'm thinking, I'm about 10 minutes past the Greek right now. Did I mess up your pedicure? What did we interrupt? What activity here?
Next time you go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and you'll realize you're not a Victoria's Secret model. I don't wait for
Yeah, I apologize for that, Greek. An indiscretion. That was totally a mistake on my part here. But we got started late. Yeah, we got started late. Everything's been discombobulated today.
whatever. What's going on?
All right, you kind of faded out there a little bit there, Louie. If you can give us a little.
What's going on? I was at I had to do an event last week at Drive Shack, right? You'll love this story.
Okay.
So it's raining really bad. So they called me up after my show. They said, "Oh, it's going to be about 20 minutes late." So I said, "Let me pull into the Palm Beach Kennel Club," and it's pouring. You can't even see. Like I'm driving with my, trying to clean the windows.
Yeah.
I go to the paddock, and I bet the 4-3, and I think the race is going to be canceled. So I bet 4 long shots, and the 4 comes in, pays $69.
Nice.
Hell.
Serendipitous luck is the kind of luck that most people never experience. You have it, Greek, and it's fantastic. The reason I mentioned this song, "Your Time Is Going to Come," because it seems to me, as I was looking over propositions for NBA draft bets last night, and they had all kinds of props about would Wembanyama be the number 1 pick, and you had to bet 10,000 to win 100 on that. But where would you find somebody that would take that action? Because they're essentially, unless the guy, even if he had been hit by a car and was hospitalized in critical condition with little chance to live, I think he still would have been the number 1 pick, don't you?
Yes.
So they were giving you the $100 if you had the 10 grand.
Yeah, he would have been a number 1 pick if he was in that sub.
I think they're going to find him. We just condemn people for making sub jokes, and here we are participating.
I mean, it's funny.
Well, what are you going to do? No, I don't even want to suggest that you had odds on them finding him.
No.
Okay, all right. You were yelling at me for being in the Deadpool? Get out of here. Come on. That's really in poor taste betting on that, Creed.
It's just that everybody knew that he was going to be a number 1 pick. That's all.
Yeah.
Again, I like the Heat's pick. The Warriors, I mean, they must be smoking pot to trade Poole, 24 years old, for Paul. That is the dumbest move I've ever seen in history of the NBA. I don't understand that.
Inexplicable.
And for Draymond Green, who is great defensively, but he's old, and it's just like they want to keep the band together. The band's done.
Yeah.
They're not winning no more. They're finished. They're
This
done.
ain't the Beach Boys,
Realize
man.
it. Yeah, just like the Yankees at the end. It's just such a bad move to trade that kid Poole. Who is a superstar, one of the best in the NBA. I put him in the top 20. 24 years old for Poole. Oh my God! The new GM must be drinking NyQuil backwards. Like, what is that?
It's Mike Dunleavy's kid.
Never wins.
Yes.
Yeah, he never wins.
He gets hurt every
no matter
playoffs.
where the freak he goes. I mean, he just doesn't win.
I can't imagine. I mean, and he's broken down at this point, Chris Paul.
Yeah,
I thought, maybe coming off the bench for the Lakers or something, and he gets together with his buddy LeBron. But at that price, it isn't worth having him on the roster. I don't believe. I mean, and to trade him for Poole, I was shocked by that also, because it was Poole and other considerations. They even gave him some more shit to go along with it.
Yeah, and the other thing with Poole, they signed him, right? Now, if there was so much friggin' drama all year, you should have traded him in September. A wise guy told me years ago, I'll never forget it, one of his best lines. He said, if you're going to get beat up, Greek, get beat up on a Monday. Don't wait till the weekend. And it's true. Like, you wasted a whole year. You didn't get in the playoff. You didn't win the championship. And then you trade Poole? You should have traded him then. I would have traded Draymond last year. I would have said, you're done.
Yes.
You don't put your hands on another player. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
it was reverse thinking. I don't know. I mean, when a guy's that big of a headache, it might be time to cut ties. Maybe that was the thinking of the radio station with us.
The NBA lets the players rule the league.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. No matter what they want, you see it with LeBron, all of them. I don't want to go here. Harden, I don't want to be here. I like Silver. I think he's a good commissioner on certain things, but on other things, they're a pansy. They let these guys run it. I mean, Beal's getting $50 million. Are you kidding me? Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
It really is. But that's what they do. And jerk-offs like us watch and talk about it. I mean, at least for me, I bet on it for years, and I made something on that. But to me, it's like...
But think about it for a second. I mean, there's a reason for that. And if you look at the, sort of evolution of this thing, and when the players finally, after one of their strikes many, many years ago, I believe the NBA was the first ever to get into percentage of revenues being divided in the, in the collective bargaining agreement. And they had kind of a favorable number, but think about what the revenue must be if you can afford to pay stiffs.
Oh yeah,
you're looking at guys. This was unfathomable. Imagine Mickey Mantle going in, to the offices there, the Yankee offices, and saying, "Listen, I don't want your $40 million, man, to play center field." I mean, these guys were scratching to make $100,000, and guys turning down $40 million. Which is obviously, enough money for most of us to live the rest of our lives very happily. Maybe, you might need 80, but, Lubie and I could split 40 and be more than happy.
You give me $1 million right now and I'm good.
Yeah, you can split. I can split.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to make it work.
I mean, seriously, you give me $1 million right now cash, I'm good. My lifestyle is a lot different. I don't have anybody in my life. I don't have any kids. I mean, I got about 3 weeks left, so that's it.
3 weeks left to live? No, come on.
That's it. Yeah.
You're not going to be around to collect on the Defo under 75?
No, I take a Learjet from Boca to Monte Carlo. I get 2 brunettes, and I call it a day.
Yeah, I'm out of here, man. I'm on operating a fishing boat on Lake Como, and that's it for me. I'm done.
I put all the money on Black 20, and I let it ride. And that's the end of the movie. Stop. It's just sad where sport. Like the other night, I was having dinner with this guy who's involved a little bit in different things. And I knew this, but I wasn't sure. Like Messi's deal down in Fort Lauderdale with the soccer team. Did you know that all the other teams in the league are paying his salary?
Yeah. There's the whole thing.
Sure.
The league is making it
God.
happen.
What a imagine that.
And they're giving him the team after he's done. It's like, here, the team is yours, Lionel. Just play 2 years for us, huh? Score a couple of goals, if you will.
Imagine years ago, like somebody called Vince Lombardi and said, "Hey, Vince, Johnny U needs a new contract. We expect the Packers to kick in some money. What do you think? Good?"
Yeah, I mean, it's inconceivable. And yet, I mean, if you're the Major League Soccer people, this guy is going to make you for the next, 3 years probably. And then, he's going to be around the league like Beckham. Look what the city does. The only guy I know that has more pull in this town than you, the Greek, might be David Beckham. Because if Beckham said, what does he do? He says, you know what? I want to take over this land that's been servicing the youth and the kids here in South Dade forever. And, they've had all kinds of great things go on here. But I want it now, and I want to build a soccer stadium. Okay, Dave, no problem.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just some of the stuff that happens to me is beyond belief. It just, But again, it's sports. It's millions and millions of dollars. It's not
Yeah.
stopping, and it's just going to keep going and going and going. Magic Johnson, which is really 1980. I know it's 40 years ago, whatever.
Yeah.
He was the first guy to make $1 million.
Seems like yesterday to me, Greek. 1980.
Yeah, I know. So I'm saying it doesn't seem that long, but I'm saying he was the first guy to make $1 million. And where we are now, and the other thing too with these guys, they don't listen to anybody. They don't give a shit. Why would they?
No, they don't care.
Yeah.
They're not going to listen to anybody. Hey, run laps, do this. Kiss my ass. I'll do what I want. It's just, I don't know. And it's just, like I said, the public buys it. The more sports betting's involved, the bigger it'll get. They even said with the Oakland A's, they look at that. They said sports betting had a lot to do with that, because of the amount of money people could bet on it. But
Sure.
that's where sports is. You see PGA.
Well, and did you see this other story? I didn't mean to interrupt, but this other story, with the Saudis buying 5% of all of these Washington-based teams, not the Commanders, but they bought a piece of the Wizards, buying a piece of the Capitals, and their soccer team also, I think, MLS team.
United.
And this is after they bought the PGA Tour, so there's plenty of money there, obviously, and that's why Adam Silver is kind of become the second coming of Roger Goodell when it comes to certain issues that he doesn't address, even though
their money, money, they have $657 billion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's a nice piece of change there for hitting a ball with a stick. It's great.
Yeah, and everybody always gave me stuff for years and static. I'm going to go back to my dad, rest his soul. He had a lot of great lines that I hear every day. One of his greatest lines was, people will tell you 99 reasons why you shouldn't, but 100 why they should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the PGA is definitely that. And everybody's got a price. I don't care what it is. And eventually, if the money's so high, you're going to buy it.
Yeah.
You're going to go. And that's what the PGA did. Eventually, they're like, all right, screw it. We got to do it. What are we going to do? It's just too much.
They threw in a towel. They really did.
Yeah, what I didn't like with the commissioner, it's the same thing I went back to Tiger Woods years ago when he got caught cheating. If Tiger Woods went to his press conference and I blame his handlers, like I say I had Lubie, and the situation was the same. I'd be, Lubie, get up there and say, you cheated on your wife many times. Then there's no New York Post every day, different girl.
Right.
It's the commissioner for PGA who just went on a press conference and said, look, I don't want to get involved with these guys, but the money's so unbelievable, we can't pass it up.
Yep.
And we can't fight them. So sorry. He's like, oh, I found new information. No, you didn't. You gave him your bank account. You gave him. That's the new information.
He did get sick immediately after that and had to abdicate his duties with the tour there for a while. And you were thinking, is this another Navalny thing or, Khashoggi? Maybe he sold out to the wrong people.
It's always about money, and I don't care what anybody says. It always is. In our country, in our society, it always goes back to two things: money and sex.
Yep.
And usually every single time, both are around. And it's the truth. Every freaking story you see, every issue, it's always something to do with somebody, with some girl or something happened, and it's always cash. And the same thing with, like the PGA. And the PGA made like they were so, oh my God, honorable and do stuff like that.
They don't even cheat at golf.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't want our events to be bad, this and that. But you got your hand out, bitch.
Yeah.
All the time. You're collecting the cash. So, again, they're like the state of New Jersey with the turnpike. They built a parkway. They said after the first 10 years it was paved, there would be no more tolls. Guess what? There's still tolls.
Every 3 feet. It's crazy. All right, Greek, you were on your game today, man. I'm glad we got to you because, the people on a Degenerate Friday are expecting no less than the highest quality of entertainment.
I've said it for years in baseball.
Yeah.
Bet streaks.
Oh, yes.
Won 11 in a row. Anytime a team wins 3 or loses 3, bet against it. The A's a couple weeks ago, the A's have lost a bunch of Pirates have lost 11 in a row. The Braves have won 7 in a row. Every day, pick 2 teams that are on streaks, and you will make money baseball season.
Oh, it's great. And there have been a bunch of them, like you said. All right, Greek, we love you, man. Thanks. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
You too.
Good degree, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we have to run. We're coming back. The professor's going to join us, and he will have a big board, according to Mike Lubitz, which is greatly anticipated here on the show. Sean Devaney, Lubie could not resist some deeper draft analysis, and we love this guy. He's very, very authoritative on the NBA, and Lubie wants to grill him with a few questions about the draft. So Sean Devaney's going to join us about 8:30, and the Gambling Gourmet. He broke the record yesterday, man. And that child's plate that he assembled at the end, because he only eats like half of everything, even though he eats half of a lot of stuff. He put away like two bites of that hot dog. See, I didn't realize I was eating that hot dog, but I didn't have that giant bun with it.
The bun, well, it wasn't a bun. It was more like a hoagie roll.
Yeah.
It was actually unnecessary, and it just made it more. I appreciate Delaware for going over the top, but for someone like me who tries to do less, I was like, oh my God. Like, that's why I ate half of the thing and I couldn't eat anything else. It was just too much. Mayo's putting all of it down. It's fucking like, what the hell?
Oh, he ate. I realized on the way home, because I'm thinking Mayo ate like 3 of those rolls, which would be enough to kill him at. I'm telling you, just stop you right in your tracks. No, that was pretty impressive. That's a talent. He should be able to market, no? I guess he is in a sense, right now. I mean, we'll see what he does with it today. All right, we'll be out at Gulfstream Park later on. The professor going to join us, Sean Devaney on baskets, and then Mike Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, later on as we continue with Degenerate Friday, and back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
7:55.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on in America. And again, if you're feeling like, what the hell is the point of being a billionaire if you're going to, I mean, like, as much as Donald Trump talks about the Justice Department out to get him and witch hunt, here's a real witch hunt. The real witch hunt is Ben Affleck in an Afro wig portraying you in a major movie that is constantly advertised during the Final Four. I would take indictment over this 9, 10 times out of 10. Every day of the week and twice on or go to prison for a couple of years over sex with a porn star or having Ben Affleck in a curly wig. And honestly, this is one of the better looking pictures. He looks like a much bigger asshole than most of the rest of the preview. Like, how you let this happen if you're Phil Knight, how you actively signed up for this if you're Phil Knight, I have no idea. Like, I assume it's just Damon ambushed him with this. Like, he had no idea. He signed off, and then he got to actually see what it made to look like. Like, Phil Knight, I mean, hey, look, we all know you have spent your life torturing children in your Chinese factories. And that's going to go down as a much more positive note than this stupid fucking movie. I would much rather have them had left Ben Affleck out and made a movie about what goes on in your Chinese factories than have Ben Affleck make you look like this.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo.
The professor, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, Degenerate Friday, and we welcome into the program the professor. Professor, how are you? I mean, a good guy to talk to. We had Lubie Brown's analysis on this draft pick, the Miami Heat. And,
did you say Hubie or Lubie Brown?
Lubie Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, he mentioned this Yaquez kid as a possibility that the Heat had some interest in him, and then they took him. And, you know, one of the stories after the first three guys went, I guess, what was this, supposed drop of Cam Whitmore for whatever reason. And he ended up, being like the 20th pick, which some people had him, most people had him in the top 10. Jay Billis was screaming the whole time, Cam Whitmore, Cam Whitmore, Cam Whitmore.
Well, there's your first clue. Jay Billis likes music total piece of garbage.
I didn't even need to mention Affleck.
I know. I like Jaquez. He's a nice player.
Yeah.
How well he fits with the Heat and where he will find minutes in the Miami Heat rotation. A couple of things. I still think if you're the Miami Heat, you're looking for an off-season trade. So, I mean, Jaquez would make it easier to move like a Caleb Martin, who I think Lubie and I were talking about the other day. You look at Caleb Martin, you look at Vincent, which would obviously be a sign and trade scenario. Those are guys who you have created a market value for them that probably has never existed and is probably at its absolute peak. So being able to take a Jaquez and possibly move some of those guys would probably make the medicine go down a little bit better in a trade scenario. Do I think Jaquez is a starter for this team? No. I'm not sure he's a starter anywhere in the NBA, honestly. But he does have, that scoring game that the Miami Heat like, where he can score at all three levels. I personally think his best game is kind of in the mid-range, which is not very popular in the NBA these days. But I think, you look at your classic off-the-bench guys who come in and score and maybe don't provide a lot else, your Manu Ginobili's of the world. It doesn't really matter to me where you get your points from. If you get them from the mid-range, if you get them at the basket, you get them from the three-point line. I think when you're talking about depth guys like that, you just want the production. You don't really necessarily care that much what style it comes in. So I like Jaime Jaquez. Do I think he makes this a championship team in and of himself? Probably not.
I don't think anyone.
But at 18, if you're a quality team, there's only so much you can expect to get out of that pick anyway.
I like the kid's game. I followed him a little bit. I always have passing interest in UCLA basketball after being around a team there when I lived in LA, and it was one of the first organizations that actually opened itself up and allowed me to come in and do some interviews when I wasn't exactly steeped in credentials. They were always pretty cool. Had a great program going at the time, Sam Gilbert notwithstanding.
You always like to bring that up for some reason. It's very weird.
It was a shock, that the Wizard. Even the Wizard wasn't
Sam
clean.
Gilbert 50 years later. Even though
that the Wizard was
Jabbar, who didn't even want to leave his bedroom in Brooklyn there in Manhattan, and all of a sudden he says, "You know what? I'm getting a surfboard. I'm going to UCLA."
I don't understand your need to trash Sam Gilbert and John Wooden 50 years later. When you look at the collections of sack of shit that have followed in that sport, you look
who we paid homage to, Bob Huggins.
Everybody in that sport, except for maybe Dean Smith was also, just generally a good dude, but Bobby Knight and Mike Krzyzewski. And, all these other guys who have followed it, they're all the Eddie Sutton, they're all the biggest sacks of crap you could find
Huggins,
anywhere. They're literally the crowd that's in a strip club at 1:00 in the afternoon eating the buffet. And you find the need to rip the one dude who's just consensus across the board. Everybody's on top of being the greatest coach of all time. He's a leader of young men. You feel the need to assault him about recruiting violations that have never been proven. And that we both know in college sports at the time, corruption was how it was done. That's just how you recruited, because it wasn't like you could recruit nationally in 1966.
This man was above this kind of ill repute. The Wizard.
Well, again,
that was the shocker. And
it wasn't like
you know why I love that story too is a friend of mine who unfortunately passed at a very young age. Had a brilliant journalism career going in sports journalism. A guy named Alan Greenberg, and he was eventually syndicated out of the Hartford Courant. He had written for the L.A. Times, and you know, obviously had been more dedicated to his journalism career when he was in college because his first job out of school, I believe, was a feature writer for what at the time was a brilliant L.A. Times sports section, and he was the guy that did this big expose on Sam Gilbert. That's why it stands out to me. So there are family ties there, Professor. Family ties.
Honestly,
it's like you're dealing with Belichick. You just can't let it go.
Because assholes like you, every time he goes to the Super Bowl, suck up to him, even though you know he's been cheating for 20 years. Honestly, you and Lubie are probably more responsible with your last Super Bowl show at the Patriots, which was it the Patriots and the Rams, whatever. I think it was the Patriots and the Rams. And you spent the entire week licking Patriot assholes left and right. You had Christian Fourier, who was like 30 seconds away from going on the air and launching this horrific racial assault against Asian people. I think he actually had Mark Wahlberg on his show, and the two of them beat the hell out of another Asian guy for no reason. And you spent like 2 hours kissing Belichick's ass. And I'm sitting there you really make my head explode. Like, not once do you mention, oh yeah, you're a dynasty because you've cheated for 2 decades. Anyway, human behavior,
some of these
behavior and how
insinuations
people come to their conclusions confuse the holy shit out of me. And honestly, yesterday and this morning are more so. Have you ever seen the movie Grizzly Man?
No.
Okay. Grizzly Man is a documentary. It was released in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. It's a Werner Herzog movie, the famous German documentary filmmaker. And if anybody who hasn't seen it, I 100% recommend.
I thought you said it was a Whitey Herzog movie.
No, Werner Herzog.
Okay. I was thinking Whitey wasn't German, was he?
Let's have a little culture on the show.
Yeah, that was just
anyway. I totally recommend anybody who see it because if you followed Werner Herzog career, it's probably not as in depth a view of humanity as some of his other films, but it is easily the most entertaining Werner Herzog movie. It's about a guy named Timothy Treadwell. Timothy Treadwell was this asshole from Los Angeles who was obsessed with grizzly bears, even though he had no academic training, knew nothing about grizzly bears. So he spent 20 years of his life going to Alaska every summer and living in this area, which was just overrun by grizzly bears. So like everybody, environmental groups who worried about grizzly bears, scientists were like, stop doing this. You're going to ruin their fucking environment. And one of them is probably going to kill you. So what happened? The 20th summer he went there, a grizzly bear ate him. He died horrifically, and the way they found it is because his remains were found in a giant pile of grizzly bear shit. And to me, Grizzly Man, the movie, became the word of kings on people who did noble but really stupid shit, and what happens to you and how much society should care when you get the end that you totally deserve. There's a phrase
yes.
Yeah, there's a phrase on the internet that is very popular. It's profane, but it's popular, called fuck around and find out. And this is, I think Grizzly Man was the word of kings on what happens when people fuck around and find out. But some reason, all these assholes on this fucking submarine fuck around and find out, and we're supposed to feel bad for them. I hear all these people on television. I've seen like 30 people on TV go on TV, and they're all like, well, at least he died doing what he loved. Really? Because what he loved was screaming for air at the bottom of the ocean inside a death tube? Was that what he loved? Because that's how
this isn't the prelude to the big board, is it?
Eyeballs and his stomach sucked out of his mouth.
We just condemn people.
We
just condemn people making jokes about this. Come on.
I'm not making jokes. I'm totally serious. Right. I don't know how anybody on earth feels sorry for these people. I don't know why I'm supposed to have any sympathy. Again, these poor bastard Cubans and Haitians come over on these rafts where they get eaten by goddamn sharks because they're under such horrible poverty and tyrannical governments where they're going to be murdered by, the most corrupt jerk-offs on earth. And what do? We don't give a shit. We're like, okay, yeah,
exactly.
send some jerk-off in a Hobie cat to drag him to shore if the wind is good. But these 5 jerk-offs go on a submarine that everybody says is a goddamn death trap. And what do we have? We have congressmen going on the bitching that Joe Biden only sent 40 rescue planes instead of 140. That we should have sent every boat, everything, every buoy we can find in the goddamn Coast Guard to rescue these 4 assholes who totally got what they were asking for. But everybody else who gets lost at sea, they're like, yeah, drink your own piss and see how that works out for you.
They didn't send Rob Conrad like that. That's for sure.
I don't get it.
He had to swim to shore with a jellyfish on his head.
There you go.
Yeah. Fucking
unbelievable
joke.
All right, we have to get into it here. Good stuff there, Professor, as always. An interesting perspective, and that Whitey Herzog movie sounds kind of interesting. It probably was the only time it would be referenced on a sports talk program, if you will.
Everybody should watch Grizzly Man. Grizzly Man is a highly entertaining movie about what happens when you do stupid shit.
Great concept. No, it really is, and very befitting the story. And the editorial commentary there about how dumb these guys had to be. I mean, literally, it's not my game. You know that. I was scared on the submarine ride at the Magic Kingdom when we were submerged, and then we knew that the pool was only 3 feet deep. Okay, that had we gotten out of the submarine, I would only be knee deep in water, even though the illusion was that you were 20,000 leagues under the sea. But I mean, to get me into that thing, it's a foreign concept. All right, are you playing anything this weekend?
The USFL. It's USFL playoff time, and we've got Michigan and Houston in the upset match in the North after Michigan pulled a huge upset over Philadelphia last weekend to get in. And then in the South, we've got Birmingham and New Orleans in an offensive shootout, probably the 2 biggest performing offenses in the league, certainly the 2 highest passing offenses in the league. Both 3-point lines. I'm taking Michigan plus the 3 off a very impressive win. They made a quarterback change in the second half to score 3 unanswered touchdowns. And I think that momentum probably keeps up with them. And then in the other game, I think you got to roll with Birmingham just because their offense has been so remarkably consistent. We generally like taking as opposed to laying the points in the USFL, but in this case, we'll go with the -3. Although I would say, honestly, look at the 45, look at going over the total here because both of these offenses, Michigan and New Orleans, have been rolling Birmingham and New Orleans have been rolling all season long. Unfortunately, New Orleans has had some turnover problems, so that's the one thing that keeps that from making me make it the pick. So, like I said, we'll take Michigan plus the 3, Birmingham minus the 3. And if one is, like Defo and is inclined to do stupid things like tie together 18 parlays instead of just playing straight bets.
Well, why would you want to win money when you can sell
again? It fits with our theme. It fits with our theme of the morning, which is kind of fuck around and find out. Again. Have to play a 16 parlay instead of just making 6 bets and you go 4-2. You'd rather lose money than win a couple of units. Then, fuck around and find out.
Talking about
You're not that different than the submarine people. For you, your submarine is multi-team parlays.
In fact, I should be known as Jeff Submarine DeForest. Just because that has always been. I'm gambling with a very weak mentality overall. I realize that on my.
It's not a weak mentality. It's a horse player's mentality. It's if I'm not getting at least 5 or 6 to 1, it's not worth winning.
Exactly.
Even money is not worth winning.
Right. Only one horse can win a race. I always got a kick out of that, and a guy would mock you. Oh, look at that. He's only 2 to fucking 1. It's like, yeah, but he won. What are you doing with your tickets on a 60 to 1 shot? You're wiping your ass with them.
I'm subject to this. You know me, Defo. We have been to Vegas together. You know I love the roulette wheel.
Yes.
And that I will not play outside on the roulette wheel.
No.
For all
shove all in.
I know. I give me the 17 and the 11. I don't want your stupid black or red even money bet.
No,
I want to cash the big. I want to wait 40 turns for my number to come up and then cash the big one and lose money.
Or get on a little roll like we did that time we were leaving Las Vegas.
It happens.
And just look at these guys sending over. How many black chips do you have in your pocket now, Professor? That was great. Yeah, because you're shoveling the black right in there, and then you got stacks in front of you that make you feel like you are temporarily the king of the world.
Exactly.
Which is great. All right, we have to get to the big board here because we want to have.
I know because Lubie booked another guest. Carlos Mencia against me.
Yeah, and then we got going late, and we were futzing around, and then I got to the Greek like 10 minutes behind. So We're a little struggling, staggering here, but nonetheless, we'll take a standing 8 count. The big board on why it's okay that the Heat lost. All right, very
Okay.
good. Yeah.
This was supposed to be last week's big board, so excuse us if we're a little dated, but we had some technical issues last week,
Yeah.
and we felt like it was important to cover this subject because there's a lot of people in the city of Miami who are like freaking out that the Heat, let's be honest, kind of got their ass kicked in the NBA Finals. And I, for one, will tell you, of all the Miami Heat's runs, I enjoyed this run to the finals more than I have enjoyed any other run the Miami Heat have made, including the first time they won the title. I really enjoyed that with Dwayne Wade. But let's be honest, it came with some very legitimate criticisms about the officiating, as Dwayne Wade shot 136 free throws in crucial Game 5. It was Jerry Stackhouse who I think got suspended for 4 games for lightly tapping Shaq in the side of the head. It's Jerry Stackhouse, and Shaq could have taken a 2x4 to the side of his head and not hurt him. It came, and then when the big three, like every run to the finals, just felt like pressure and pain. It did not feel fun at any point. It just felt like
That's true.
Another opportunity for failure, not success. Like I've always said, that first run to the finals where the Heat lost to the Dallas Mavericks, that was 10 times more painful than the 2 titles were rewarding. It just hurt. And then the last one where we got totally buried by San Antonio as Danny Green went 59 from 60 from 3-point land over the course of 5 games. Like, again, just painful. But this run, I had a blast. I didn't expect to make the playoffs. Lubie will tell you, 2 weeks before the playoffs, I was like, we should just throw the rest of our games so we get a 1 in 10 million chance at Wembyama, rather than Wembyama, rather than actually make the playoffs and get our ass kicked in the first round. I didn't expect it, but I had a blast. And I want to tell everybody why it's okay that the Miami Heat lost. You can calm down and look forward to next year. It was just another fun season, and it was a great run through the NBA playoffs. And these are the reasons why.
All right. Here's number 5.
Start with number 5, which is the Jokic brothers just have so totally pissed off every other jerk-off celebrity trying to glom on the fame. In this case, we're talking about Anna Horford, who the day after the NBA Finals went onto Twitter and complained that it was sexist and racist that people actually like the Jokic brothers and hate her. For those who don't know, about a year ago, she got ripped on Twitter because she was playing publicly a game of Fuck, Marry, Kill about her brother's teammates.
Oh.
And came on and said she would marry Jaylen Brown, bang Jason Tatum, and I can't remember who the third. Marcus Smart, and would kill Marcus Smart. Which, by the way, probably the right analysis if you're the Boston Celtics.
I think Brad Stevens was thinking along those lines.
Number 1, if you're going to glom on to your brother's fame, your brother has to be more famous than Al Horford. Like, you can't. I'm sorry. Much as I hate Jackson Mahomes, at least his brother's Pat freaking Mahomes on his way to being the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, Al Horford on his best day, at his best day was 8 years ago, was kind of like a nice NBA player who everybody liked. Not anything close to a superstar. So your brother needs to be significantly more famous. And number 2, I'm going to say you're right, Anna Horford. Is America's love of the Jokic brothers steeped in racism? Yes, it is. Because let's be honest, if the Jokic brothers, instead of being gigantic Serbian war criminals, were Ja Morant's boys from the slums of Memphis, we would be scared to death of them. But for whatever reason, America loves gangsters who are European immigrants. We love the Godfather and the Italian gangsters. For some reason, we love the guys from Taken that are the Jokic brothers. We're like all kinds of gangsters except the black ones in America. We're very, very scared of the black gangsters. I mean, honestly, Ja Morant's not a big dude, and all his boys are littler than him. So I'm guessing all his boys are 5'7" and 130 pounds. The one Jokic brother could crush their skulls with his left hand.
Yes. What do you mean?
And we love the Jokic brothers, but if it was Ja Morant's boys running around court and threatening to kill the Morris twins, and we'd be scared to death of them. But I don't know. I can't say she's wrong.
And these guys are more likely to do it. That's the thing. The other guys are just making videos. Yeah.
Again, the one brother, the older brother of the gang, clearly burned a village during the Serbian War. There's no question.
And enjoyed lighting the match. You're right.
Yes, there's no question that at some point, in order to, demoralize Bosnian forces, he burned down a church full of people.
Yeah.
There's
no doubt about it.
No question he destroyed crops to make sure they starved to death in the winter. Like, if you look at a war criminal from that war, it's that guy's face. Like, again, as I have said multiple times, he kidnapped Liam Neeson's daughter twice, and even in the Taken movies, got away with it.
As those Romanian mobsters said to Ray Donovan, there is no out.
So again,
Yeah.
I am agreeing with Anna Horford, but at the same time, I'm like everybody else. I love the Jokic brothers. For some reason, I find Serbian war criminals highly comedic. Whereas, again, if I were in a room with John Morant's boys, even though they're all Lubie size, I would probably be scared to death.
Yeah. And that's only number 5, man. That was brilliant. I was thinking, with this new no filter thing that we're going to be doing, which we're hoping you're a part of there, Professor.
I have no
that
idea
fits
what you're
right in
talking about,
because clearly we would need to have no filter to insinuate that they burned villages.
Look at him.
The one
That's number 5.
Nikola Jokic and was carrying him around. It's like,
yeah,
Nikola Jokic is a big fuck dude.
Speaking of which, that takes us to number 4, and we love to celebrate the unicorns, particularly one unicorn, and that does bring us to number 4, which is. Oh, sorry, preview there. We now have the new greatest fat guy athlete of all time.
Good, yeah, I like it.
Again, there's been a lot of great fat players over the years.
Sure.
CC Sabathia was a particular favorite of mine, but this guy is easily the greatest fat guy athlete we've ever had. In fact, he's so dedicated to being a fat guy athlete that during the bubble a few years ago, he lost like 50 pounds, immediately put them back on after the bubble.
He's our Kiradesh Afi Barnrat from
He
the
is
golf circuit.
so dedicated to being a fat guy superhero that even though horses are apparently the love of his life, he doesn't go for regular horses. He goes for harness racing so they can drag his fat ass around in a cart.
Jokic is riding a sulky. Unbelievable. By Carmine Avitello.
The new greatest fat guy superhero, the new greatest fat guy athlete in the history of, honestly, of all the sports. Did you ever really think you were going to see a fat guy athlete dominating the NBA in an era where the league has become more guard oriented than ever before? And now the best player is a big fat Serbian who randomly somehow combines the game of shooting an awkward 3-pointer and just running over little people in the lane. I think, how is this guy not just hugely? I mean, America, the world's fattest nation in history. How is this guy already not the most popular athlete we've ever had? Everybody still loves Steph and all these little skinny guys.
Yeah.
If anybody,
how is he not endorsing Subway? Exactly.
Again, if anybody looks like 2023 America, it is Nikola Jokic. Yes, again, Subway has Tom Brady eating his avocado off of a piece of paper because he doesn't eat bread as their endorsement. How is Subway's new ad not Nikola Jokic eating 4 meatball subs in one sitting?
At halftime, yes.
On his harness horse.
Honestly, America should so totally embrace this guy because all he is, he's Serbian Charles Barkley. If you watch his interviews, he makes smart-ass comments, and he sits there, and when they ask him about being fat, he's like, I like to eat. What are you going to do?
He's very Joe Shucks, oh shucks, matter of fact. Yeah. He's great. We always embrace the obese athlete. We're big fans. I mean, Oliver Miller was our favorite.
I love Oliver
NBA
Miller.
player.
Again.
Yeah. Yeah, we like that guy. We like guys that eat their way out of the game too. Terry Forster in baseball, that was great when he was that fat tub of goo.
Again, how do you not love that the best player in the NBA and a guy who very realistically they're already having discussions of where does he fit in the greatest players of all time, who looks this much like Greg Ostertag? He really does look
he's
like
a white fridge Perry, yeah. He
really does look like Greg Ostertag's dad had a business trip to Serbia and did some plowing while he was over there. If I had told you 20 years ago that there was going to be a guy who has Greg Ostertag's looks and body and Larry Bird's game, and he was going to become one of the greatest players we've ever seen, everybody would have celebrated that, I feel.
No doubt about
Oh,
it, man.
yeah.
I mean, sayonara Oprah Winfrey. We got our hero right here. All right, that's number 4.
Number
three on the
three,
big board.
of course, my personal favorite part of this, we beat the Boston Celtics in the most painful way possible, and we injured Jason Tatum in the process. Like, how do you get a better result? I wanted the sweep of the Celtics real bad, just to send the Celtics home feeling bad about themselves. But this was so much better. You get up 3-0, you're 100% sure you're going to make unprecedented NBA history, the first team to ever come back 3-0 and go to the finals and have all the momentum. And what happens? 5 seconds into the game, your best player gets hurt, spends the rest of the game faking how hurt he is by limping around the whole and you have to sit there on your home floor that you just paid 10 times face value for your tickets and watch your team get absolutely mauled for the entire game and sit there with that sad Boston Celtics face look the whole time as you realize, oh shit, we're not that good. It's all falling apart. That was the best result I could possibly imagine. I got to sit there and watch Bill
You had to
Simmons
be
and
especially
Dave Portnoy
thrilled.
cry into their beer for 2 straight hours as the Miami has Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin buried the Boston Celtics. Like how
You almost waxed Walton S there as he buried the Boston Celtics.
how could you possibly get a better result than that? That was the best result humanly possible. If you had asked me before the series, like the Heat can sweep, I would have said, oh yeah, I'll take that. I had no idea that this was even a possibility. I didn't know that this was on the table.
No. Well, and did you happen to see the picture? Are we trying to send you a copy of Pat Riley spitting on Red Auerbach's grave on his way out of town? A divine moment by him also, I would think, because of his hatred of the Celtics. All right, that's number 3. Tatum injured. Celtics lose. Big board of 5 reasons why this was 5 reasons. I'm thinking Scoop Skolnick. The top 5 on the big board of reasons that it's okay the Heat lost. And here we go with
Speaking
number
of
2.
Pat Riley, that plays heavily into number 2, which is this result leaves the Heat room to make moves. Because let's be honest, if this team had won a championship, as much as people are into Heat culture and love the scrubbies down here, we would be so locked into this roster full of bums for the next few years
I
that
love
we
the
couldn't
picture.
possibly make a trade, possibly make a move without the entire city revolting and going down to the docks and burning one of Mickey's cruise ships to the ground. But because we got our ass kicked in the finals, everybody's okay with us making some moves, which, let's be honest, I like the Miami Heat, but the Heat have some talent deficits with this roster. Again, I love the way the Heat culture guys played in this playoffs, but that's not who they are. Like, Gabe Vincent is not a top 10 point guard, borderline all-star type. Max Struz, honestly, should be probably traded to the Turkish league. Because he looks like a guy who smokes clove cigarettes to begin with.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry, as we have discussed, should be traded to Elmer's. Because if he were a horse, his name would be Glue Pot.
Yeah.
Like, again, there's a lot of room. I mean, Duncan Robinson, I love the way Duncan Robinson played during the playoffs, but let's be honest, you don't really want to pay Duncan Robinson the kind of – this leaves plenty of room for the fan base to be okay with making some trades. And frankly, this Heat roster could use some upgrades moving forward. So now we have room to do it. Whereas if this team had won a title, it would have been very hard to sell making major moves to the fan base.
No doubt. I mean, people would have gone back and said, hey, look what they did to the 97
Let's run it back
Marks.
and we get hero. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
give him a chance to win another one, huh? Pat, what's wrong with you? I'm
now
with you.
we have room to make moves.
I like the fact, I mean, you had a Whitey Herzog movie reference, and then this production that you did on this picture.
Werner Herzog. Werner,
is
Werner,
brilliant.
not Whitey Herzog.
Wolfgang Herzog, or whatever this guy is.
Werner, like Werner Van Braun, the Nazi rocket guy. Werner.
It's not a reference. It's gonna help.
Warner Brothers, man, they were great also.
Okay, that's okay. Warner, I'll take. It's not. It's WERNR, but Warner works. So Werner is where we're going.
All right, that's number 2. Here's number 1.
Here's number 1, and I think everybody who knows me or has watched the big board for the last couple of years knows what it is, and that is Bernie finally got what he deserved. No mascot
Oh man.
is a bigger violation of personal space, is determined to get in your face, is determined to jinx you when you're trying to ride home Kentucky laying 8 in the Final Four against Louisville than Bernie. Bernie has needed to have the crap beaten him out of him for years and years. And Colin McGregor, who I got to be honest, I've never really liked, but is now my personal hero, finally took care of Bernie. Because not only did he accidentally punch him too hard during a little bit they were doing down here in Game 5, he sent him to the hospital.
Yes.
Like, people thought it was funny when the cheerleaders dragged Bernie off the court. No, they were dragging him straight to the emergency room because he'd been very badly injured. And honestly, nobody has deserved to be very badly injured at a game more than Bernie did. So I am 100% okay with this finals, just based on this result that Bernie was hospitalized after Colin McGregor punched him not once, but twice too hard in the face during a little bit here.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, man. And then they're dragging him off there, and I couldn't help it. It was like they were, carrying a fighter out of the ring at the Olympic Auditorium back in the day on a stretcher. You're thinking that this poor guy is unconscious. And,
Damn right.
And the people are laughing. That was great, man.
Of course they were laughing. They all know what I know, which is Bernie has deserved this forever.
Well, yeah. I mean,
He's
you had
been
the personal
begging for
incident with
this.
him. You only cursed him out, though. You weren't thinking about taking a swing at this guy, were you?
I was 100% thinking about taking a swing. I didn't want to go to jail. I'm not
did it,
Conor.
punch it.
I'm not Conor McGregor, where I could punch a mascot in the face and then go rape somebody in the bathroom and get away with
Allegedly,
it. Apparently,
allegedly. I mean, I don't know about that story. It reeks of
I'm a little suspicious, and we
nonsense.
don't want to persecute our heroes like Conor McGregor. So I'm not trying to do that here on the show.
Now that he's been upgraded to hero stature.
I'm just saying, I don't feel like I can get away with it, whereas Conor McGregor clearly can. So again, good on you, because nobody has. This is like those videos where the child molester only gets 2 years in jail, and then the mom or dad come and shoot the guy right in the courtroom. That's how I felt about this video, watching Conor McGregor beat Bernie half to death right at the middle of the third quarter there at the Miami Arena.
A guy that was, considered more of a scumbag than anything else, suddenly becomes your poster child for being Mr. America.
Damn
Conor
right.
McGregor. Yeah,
Conor
very
McGregor, America's great, or at least Miami's greatest sporting hero, for giving Bernie what Bernie has richly deserved for a number of years.
All right, we got to run. Lubie's got some basketball to discuss here.
I know you got to talk more about Jaime Jaquez and his
Jaquez, man. Can you
impact
do it?
on the Miami Heat.
Is that title material? All right, excellent job, Professor. You were on your game today. Thanks so much for being with us.
You guys have a
Hey,
great
Professor,
one.
ladies and gentlemen. All right, you want to go straight to it? What do you want to do here, Lubie? You want to take a little time out here?
I have to get him
Take
on.
a little break here, and we'll get to Sean Devaney. And he's with Heavy.com and been with a lot of different organizations covering basketball. And I was at the draft last night. I don't know if, did he bring a towel with him, man? You had to wipe up a lot of tears. That doesn't, it doesn't bother me. It's just interesting because we're seeing a lot of crying lately around the sporting landscape. Are we not, Mike Lubie-Lewitz?
Yes. Yes, we are.
Yeah. Are you're okay with that?
No, I told you. Well, look, tears of joy, I'm okay with. It's tears of sadness, I think.
Yeah, crying about losing a baseball game. I mean, get the fuck out of here. That's ridiculous.
When you've worked really, really, really hard and finally win, and you just are
okay. That's a release of emotion that's pent up, maybe.
It's so much emotion, you just can't contain it, and then liquid comes from your eyes. Fine.
Yeah.
But when
I don't roll that way, so it's foreign to me. Maybe that's part of it too. Am I missing out by not having this kind of emotion? I mean, we're talking about playing games here.
When Bobby finally won, I got teary-eyed because the guy
you did, yeah,
ran around the field looking lost. He thought he won, and then he didn't win. And then it was like, oh shit, they're gonna end up losing this game. Fucking Bobby. And then the Nebraska guy misses a kick, and it's like, oh, thank God they won. Bobby looked so fucking happy. Like, I remember being like a young kid getting teary-eyed because it was like good for him. He finally did it. When Wade got a title, I don't know if I got teary-eyed, but I don't, but I could see it. Like LeBron finally winning all he went through. I don't know if I got teary-eyed, but I could have seen it.
Cheer it up for LeBron. That's
Well, no, I
interesting.
mean, look,
It's not like I haven't welled up a couple of times watching sports movies, and I'm almost ashamed to admit those occasions.
I cry at sports movies.
Although the Monty Stratton story, when he finally came back and got that guy out with the wooden leg, Jimmy Stewart, Rain Out Theater, you couldn't help but cry. And I saw the movie 100 times. I cried every time. All right, Sean Devaney going to join us here shortly. We'll get some more Lubie Brown insight and in-depth analysis, dissection of what happened last night's NBA draft, and then the Gambler Gourmet, Mike Mayo, and later on we're out at Gulfstream Park, which is always a highlight for me. As what's wrong with a freebie lunch, a free racing farm, and you're right there at the betting windows and the 10 palms, and they're calling that work. Back with more in a moment. Now that I bitched at Mustang, I got to go to work. Leave me alone. It's 8:34.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Either right-handed or left-handed. Get down in there. Shirk off the defender.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on the Defo Show.
I do miss Hubie on the draft coverage there. I thought ABC, that was very, very poor oversight on their part. To throw a Stephen A. Smith on the ABC network coverage forced me to turn over to, and I'm not anti-Stephen A. Smith necessarily. He's doing great, right? He's making about $20 million a year, and
makes money. Yeah.
we're here doing this. So and we're in the same business essentially. But we loved having Hubie Brown on those broadcasts. Lubie Brown was very good last night. Our own Mike Lubitz, as he did mention Javier Yaquez as a key and focal point of interest. Jaime. What did I say? Javier? Julian Javier. I was thinking of. Yeah. Jaime Yaquez of UCLA. I got the college right. Did he play for the Wizard? And you mentioned him yesterday as part of your mock draft scenarios, and that was good. And this guy was at the draft, and we always love talking baskets with him. Sean Devaney joins us here on the program from Heavy.com. Sean, how are you? How was the Big Apple?
I'm doing well, Defo, bro. Doing pretty good. It's the rainy. We're hanging in.
Nice. All right, and in Brooklyn, the Barclays Center, I guess, so was the site of the draft last night. All right, how overwhelmingly shocked were you when Victor Wembanyama's name was announced as the number one pick of the San Antonio Spurs? I mean, did that floor you? I mean, we were like, holy moly, man! I can't believe they took Panchero. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, and the guy was pretty impressive, just doing interviews and stuff and chatting with him a little bit. He's very polished. He's probably a strange thing to go from Paris to San Antonio, but I think he'll be able to make this, and I think he's got enough of a sort of a winning personality. I think he'll right there. I think he'll fit well with Popovich. Definitely he's got a reputation as a hard worker, and that kind of humility that you saw from Tim Duncan over the course of his career. So I think that's he's going to be just really, really fun to watch and incredible to see what he can do. when they had that AT&T Center, so to watch it, I couldn't believe it. People were going nuts, but that's how good he could be.
Look, and Defo thinks I had you on to break. Not. You're great with reports on possible transactions, possible things to happen. You did it a lot throughout the season, Miami Heat, when they were very active in attempts. They didn't end up being very active, but active in attempts, and things just fell away. They are involved in this, but it's become, I don't know if a circus is the word. I don't know what's going on. And the latest report, Damian Lillard has had no communication with the Blazers on anything, which I don't see being a good thing of what's going on with Lillard and the Blazers. From what you know, what is going on with Lillard and the Blazers? They ended up getting Scoot Henderson at number 3, which is not what Lillard openly said. He wanted reinforcements right now. He's now supposedly said he's willing to wait through free agency, whatever the hell that means. From what you know, what is going on there?
It's a hiring contest, and that's what it was to me as, the Blazers want Damian Lillard to come to them and say, I want to be traded. That gets them out of, the public backlash of trading him away against his will. If he comes to them and says, yes, get me out of here. They made some attempts to trade that number 3 pick. Once it was pretty clear that the Hornets, it became clear throughout the going to go with Brandon Miller. The Blazers saw Scoot Henderson there, and they said, we're not really going to trade this pick. They made an effort with Bridges from Brooklyn, who everybody knows that they're not trading Bridges. So there's question how all in the Blazers were on trying to trade that number 3 pick as was being reported. They really weren't trying that hard. They weren't pursuing deals that they could actually get, would bring somebody in. Damian Lillard now. So they really wanted Scoot Henderson. And now they're in a position where Damian Lillard doesn't want to be the one to go to them and ask for a trade. They don't want to be the one to pull a trigger on a trade without them asking. So, like I say, they're kind of watching this daring contest, right? It's weird, no question. But that's sort of where things stand. Each side is expecting the other to blink. And you have to think they're not going to get all the way to October with this game. At some point, somebody's going to say, all right, let's make a trade here. We got to do something. It'll probably be the Blazers. There's going to have to be something that happens here. I think it's virtually impossible that game was going back there.
As an offshoot of that, if they do it, it feels like in here, but from what we've heard, Lillard, the relationship he openly has, Bam Adebayo, from where he is in his career and what would want to trade is for to go get a title, where could you see him going? The Heat are definitely up there, but where could you see him going, and what could you see the move looking like?
Yeah, obviously he had mentioned the Nets before as well, and that's a possibility. Certainly, certainly the Heat, I would say, are the favorite. They have capital they can offer going forward, and they have whether it's Tyler Hero or some other of their young guys that they can put into a package. They've got the pieces to get something done there. But I'd say it's some of the Nets. The Knicks like to think that everybody wants R.J. Barrett. Not everybody wants R.J. Barrett, it turns out. So I don't think the Knicks have been discussed, but I just have a hard time seeing them being a realistic team to get something there. But they could be surprising. A team like it's certainly not going to be afraid of Lillard's contract, and they've got a bunch of pretty good young assets. So that would be sort of a dark horse to watch there, I think. There's going to be some other teams that crop up, but certainly, one thing that we've seen, fewer and fewer teams are in position to make a move like that. So, and that favors the Heat. So the Suns being one, the Warriors being another. Both of those teams were considered outside possibilities for Lillard, and they're kind of off the board given what they've done in the last couple of weeks. So that certainly tilts things towards the Heat.
Sean Devaney guesting with us here from Heavy.com. Been analyzing NBA basketball for a long, long time. Analysis, Sean, lends itself to analogy, and we are often referencing, I guess, my favorite, bad trade of all time NBA, what would be Joe Barry Carroll to the Warriors for the rights to Kevin McHale and, of course, the Chief, which solidified and cemented that Celtic organization for years to come. But that was not necessarily as bad or didn't smack of the, kind of imbalance. I think that this one does, because I think Jordan Poole's a good player. I know he had a lousy year last year and didn't do much, but the year before he looked like he was an emerging star, like he was going to be right there, knocking on the door to take over for Steph Curry when he eventually, moved on or became, a secondary guy maybe later in his career. Chris Paul to me is, I don't know that he's a shot fighter, but not necessarily a desirable commodity, especially if you're going to be an up-tempo team like Golden State likes to be. What did you make of that swap? And then there were other considerations, I guess, that went, the way of Poole, or with Poole in that deal that was made. What could possibly the Warriors have been thinking? And will that be someday talked about as maybe one of the worst deals? I mean, like Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi, when we have to find analogies to equate it to.
Yeah, it certainly is the head scratcher because you mentioned the style of play and how is Chris Paul going to fit in that? He wants down the Warriors don't. Obviously, a passer, a great half-court player, and maybe in the playoffs that can be something. But that's if he's healthy for the playoffs. He hasn't been healthy for the playoffs in the last 3 years, and that's been a huge, huge problem for Phoenix trying to win a championship, and that's one reason he's not there anymore. So there is that. I think the overall issue for the Warriors is that this new CBA, and a lot of the things we're seeing is because of this new CBA, and it's going to be very, very tough on teams paying luxury tax. It's going to be tough to do much of anything when you're over what they're calling the second. And the Warriors will be there. Chris Paul has a non-guaranteed contract after the season, so they could play him out this year and then not guarantee his contract, let him go next year. So they just signed Poole to that 4-year, $130 million deal, and immediately now there's we're seeing this all around the league. It's not just the Warriors. So I think that's what really drove all this is let's take a chance for Chris Paul with Steph Curry, see what happens, and then and if it doesn't, then we're out of that contract. We've got a little more breathing room under that second apron. That's really what this is all about.
All right, this is great speculation. I don't know that you can always say it has its foundation in reality, but as you look at what transpired yesterday, were there any winners or losers or overwhelming surprises in your opinion?
Yeah, certainly.
Aside from San Antonio, the obvious. Yeah.
I think San Antonio did all right for themselves, no question. I like what Dallas did. They were able to get Derek White, who I think is going to be a pretty high impact player. They had to move down a couple spots to get him, but that was the guy they wanted, and then they got a later pick as well, and they take Prosper from Marquette. So they were able to get I think 2 in their rotation. They also freed up a little bit of room for them to re-sign Kyrie if that's the way that they're going to go. So I thought Dallas did pretty well. You have to like what the Heat did. Like I said, everything kind of went their way around them in terms of what could happen. But I think Harkless is come in and play right away for them. Great passer. Good defender. He's a really good defender. It's just a question of what position to start in the NBA. They'll have to figure that out. But I think that really them. And then, like I say, all the stuff with Damian pointing more toward them. That's certainly favorable as well. So you have to like where the Heat are.
All right, sounds good. Always appreciate it, Sean. Thanks so much for joining us here on the show, and enjoy the rest of your stay. Are you flying out of New York today, or sticking around for a day?
No, I'll stick around, and New York has a lot to offer. So maybe.
Yeah. Go down the end of Manhattan there, I believe it is, and get yourself a cherry cheese knish from Jonas Schimmel's Bakery. And you'll never forget it. It'll be a culinary experience of a lifetime. Thanks. All right. Thanks for being with us. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.
He didn't really have any reaction to that Knish comment, did he?
It's New York. Of all the things to do in New York, I feel like that's not the top of the list.
My number one priority. I think if I was Mayo, I would do the same thing. Did you ever go to Jonas Schimmel? You had to be, at some time in your life, Jonas Schimmel's Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet.
Of course. Who are you talking to? Yeah,
okay.
I've been everywhere.
Were you a fan of the potato?
And I've eaten everything. And I'm still in process of eating everything. It's
I mean, you went out and had a big dinner after that thing yesterday? That's unbelievable.
Yep. Not just,
oh my God.
Not just a dinner.
Incredible run.
We ordered out with Phil Marrow from the Food Festival, and he's organizing the Dine Out Lauderdale promotion.
What was that actually the offerings at the entire food festival, or did you just have that for dinner yourself? It looked like a food festival, Mayo. What the heck was that?
It was a party in my mouth. And let me tell you something. Besides the feast, and we ordered like 2 rounds of things, and this is at this new place called Miso Japanese Tapas up in the trendy
Miso Bistro, right?
I think it should be called Miso Bistro.
That's a great name, Miso Bistro.
Miso Bistro, it rhymes. I mentioned that to Twan, the owner. He didn't go for it. But
Twan Russell owns a restaurant?
No, not Twan Russell.
Oh, okay.
Twan Tron. I don't know his last name, but he's actually a very talented chef, owner, operator. He was one who was one of the original founders of the Fat Boy Sushi, which is now a regional chain.
Yes.
But he left and got bought out pretty early in the game when it was just one location. But anyway, Twan, talented guy, interesting backstory. He was born in Vietnam, and at one point, it was maybe Cambodian, Vietnam, went to a refugee camp. His whole family came here by boat. But interesting story. Great new Japanese place, very hip. And here was the kicker. Did you know that I am internet famous and a hit with the young ladies? It's unbelievable.
Get on it. Well, and we knew that. I mean, we've seen the
I
groupies show up at events. I mean, to watch you eat.
Okay. And Phil Marrow is going to be joining us, I think, next week when we go up to Aruba Beach Cafe, because Aruba Beach signed up for the Dine Out Lauderdale. And Phil's a degenerate. He's great. He was telling me stories about his dad and uncles. They grew up in the Chicago area, and how they would take him and some other siblings and cousins, play hooky, just take him right to the tracks on Friday and just gamble their brains out. And of course, Phil's father's named Phil, and they made a mint on the Kentucky Derby with 2 Phils running second. But anyway, Phil is next to me. We're finishing up dinner, and one of the servers who brings our check runs, we split the bill. She sees my credit card. When she runs it, she goes back. She sees my name. She goes, "Are you Michael Mayo?" And I was like, "That's what it says on the credit card. Do I owe you money, or did I ever unfavorably review a restaurant of yours?"
Usually that's followed by a subpoena when they ask me that question.
Either that or a knife behind the back that they're ready to play. No, and she's like, "I love your group. It's so great," and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, great.
The Let's Eat South Florida group.
Of the 109,000, how many would you say are groupies? Lubie, I would believe that both you and I would think the number was higher than even Mike Mayo would estimate.
Oh,
I don't even know, but all I know is this: just not mere, like 30 seconds later after this exchange, which amused me.
No, her phone number?
No. We get up from the table, we start walking out towards the front, and there's this table of like 3 young, very attractive 20-somethings.
Wow.
And
these are
one of the women.
Okay, wait. These are 20 because again, Defo is being nice and groupies. The women, and I have no problem with women of any age, but the age ranges are not young when we've had groupies. So these are 20-somethings. You are 100% 20-somethings. is what this group is.
Phil will be my witness, but 20-somethings who are in there, and this one woman wheels around and says, "Are you Mike Mayo?" And I was like,
shut up.
"Yes." And all three of them, their faces lit up like, "We belong in your group, and we just also love it." And
God, they
can't
knew
wait
you
to
by
see,
face.
can't wait to see what you have to
But
say.
when the
about
Beatles
this
showed up at
place.
LaGuardia, they didn't get this kind of reception. What are you talking about? Going back to '64.
It
What
was
the hell?
It was funny,
God.
and we walk out the door, and Phil's like, "I
Well, that
can't
didn't
believe."
impress this guy. Did you up the rate on the advertising?
How do you judge her?
Hey, do you see this? This is, I mean, come on, Phil. You think a couple of dimes is going to cover this? No way.
Phil is very good to us and
No, he's been a good
but
guy.
it was just very, very amusing. But and I was telling Phil that this actually does happen a lot when I go out to eat, that I get recognized, and much more so
People
than I
want
was.
to buy your company to go out and eat.
funny.
Oh yeah,
It's sick. You don't realize what you have going here, Michael. That's why we want you to preserve it for as long as
I'm
you
a
can.
very modest guy, and it just it's a little jarring that after writing with a column sig in the paper for like 3 decades,
Nobody could recognize you,
nobody
sure.
knew me out of a lineup, and now I'm just going out and Phil says, "Yeah, of
Internet
course,
stardom.
people are watching the show, people are seeing you on the Facebook group, and this is kind
What do you mean?
of
It's a fucking joke. Even when I did a show for 12 years, I go around, he goes around, and the first thing people will say to me, they're like, "Are you on that show with Mayo?" I'm like, "Fuck you."
It's a disgrace for us. I mean, but
Shirley, are you on with Mayo? I'm like, "Yes, I'm on with Mayo. Yes, I do a show with Mike Mayo."
the group is a very tight knit group there that Let's Eat South Florida bunch.
It is a community,
in spite of the fact that you deliberately and by design realizing that it's divide and conquer, and also that the old Hank Goldberg principle, which half the people hate you, half of them love you. Cosell, I guess, came up with that, and that's where you want to be. You want to be, both loved and feared. And that's what we're seeing.
The old saying of like somebody that's really has charisma or desirable is like, oh, all the men want to be him and all the women want to sleep with him. In my case, it's everybody just wants to eat with me. Nobody wants to sleep with me.
Well, I don't know that they would if they saw that performance yesterday, and this was prior to your starring thing there. And you very humbly explained what we were doing at the Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. But I have to say,
I was doing my Linda Lovelace
chopped down some more of that
hot dogs. That was a little
and I realized that you ate 3 giant buns yesterday. No, you didn't suck them all down in their entirety, but enough to qualify as 2 fully eaten, huge. Yeah. I mean, these rolls were like hoagie rolls that you would get at some sub shop somewhere.
Yes, and that was my downfall in last year's.
The high-end quality, though, was noticeable, especially when I went back to the thing out of the fridge several hours later. That burger, that was great.
It's good.
And that was a combination of something. What was involved there?
Brisket blend. It's where
brisket blend. Very nice.
They do a in the grinder, they put in some, usually it's ground chuck.
You could taste it.
And ground brisket. And the brisket gives it a little more fat and flavor. But this was a very lean and flavorful burger. I thought
that was great.
Perfect. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, we had a good time. And then you ate again, which is amazing. Well, that's all right. Have you been eating any wagers of late? I had a disgusting experience last weekend with a bet that it was again the bets that you don't make. And I was going to run out to the track and do this, and I never had a chance to do it. I was going to send the ticket in with one of my friends. I didn't get around to that. And then I watched $800, just fly away with wings.
Amazing how that happens. Yeah, no, I said I was kind of be on the shelf and do like a little bit of a moratorium on the gambling between the Belmont Stakes and the big opening of Saratoga in a couple of weeks.
But you've been in like 6 poker tournaments this week.
Well, no, and then beyond that, now all of a sudden it's like Royal Ascot this week, and
you got involved.
Today and tomorrow are the final 2 days of the Royal
Can you bet that at Gulfstream? Do you know?
Yes, you can.
Okay. And what time does it start? Because it would
9:30 a.m. So,
wow.
Yeah,
so
and you know what? I'm not quite clear if you can. I mean, I don't know if they're taking the international signal.
I would think so. Don't they always make that available when it's at Dubai?
Usually when it's Dubai and the Saudi Cup and some of those other big races. But yesterday was notable for degenerates out there because it was like an easy
bombs away.
although tricky Muldoon, you know the Muldoon principle, which is like anything that has the same name, if the two horses have the same word in their names, you bet those two horses. Well, this was a thematic Muldoon because the feature race yesterday, which King George V Stakes.
Okay.
And again, this is the Royal Ascot meet. So the royal family is there. I think King Charles was there at the races yesterday with the new Queen
I
Camilla.
think Kate Middleton shined them on to go meet Paul McCartney at some museum. Pretty sure
really?
that was one of the stories that was in there. The
So he
tabloids
wasn't
all over.
there yesterday?
Maybe yesterday, I don't know. But whenever it started, I guess it was the day before.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of Kate Middleton, and she wasn't at the Royal Ascot. They mentioned
Yeah,
that
well,
she
it's
was
a
meeting McCartney, which would be a viable reason to skip the horse races.
Well, it's a 5-day, premier meet.
Yeah.
And the Royal Stable usually has a couple of horses entered in some of the big races. And yesterday was one of those occasions where it was the King George V Stakes $1 million race. And the royal family and King Charles, his horse was the number 5 horse. I forgot the name of it. It didn't have King in it, but then there was a number 11 horse that had the name King in it. So all you had to do is bet. And Charles's horse won. The house horse wins at over 20 to 1. It paid like $45. And then this other horse that had King in the name finished second. So I think the exact.
You think they let Harry in on it that the horse was live?
No, they cold watered.
Was there a call to like Santa Clara or wherever the hell these guys are hanging out? And they said, "Hey, listen, the house horse is good, 20 to 1. Now go ahead, plunge."
They cold water him and said, "Oh, he came up lame this morning. He's not worth a plug nickel," and then goes wins for fun. So anyway, that was fun. Again, it's something that gives like
I love that you were betting it while stuffing your face there at the Delaware Chicken Farm, and but I was alerted.
You go running off to the windows in the middle of the show.
Well, that's different. I mean, I'm at the track there, and
I mean,
it's a whole different thing.
It's worse. You leave the set. At least I'm unobtrusive about it. I'm on my.
I don't think that's unacceptable. I mean, in my principles of work ethic, if you're gambling at a place that you're trying to bring people to via their marketing campaign through the show, then you should show that you enjoy yourself, and that everything is secondary to the fact that you need to get down on the double at Belmont, and the show's running a little long. I'm sorry.
So my non-gambling moratorium is going about as well as yours did, because I thought I heard you swear it off forever.
But I was being facetious. I'm not like you in that respect. I mean,
I never said I was quitting gambling. I said I was going to take it easy for a few weeks until Saratoga. In my case, taking it easy
but you
means
quit various things, during the time that we've known you here, and especially. And it's always been a joke in the end.
It is.
I mean,
it is a joke.
You go into these 2-week things. They're like, oh, well, I can't eat this piece of bacon. And you're like, come on, Mayo.
You talk about Stephen A. Smith being a clown. I am the ultimate clown. I mean, Joe Pesci will get in my face and just,
this thing is a hit, though. I would imagine on TikTok, you continue to do this, and you're going to make an even bigger name for yourself and have a more humongous following. And it's going to be especially interesting to see how you handle the adulation of the young women.
I'm just
coming on to you.
I mean, I was just shocked that like there's actually 20-somethings who admit to being on Facebook, because I always thought they were like too
They've moved
young.
on. Yeah, TikTok.
No, that's not hip. That all the teens are on TikTok and the 20-somethings are on Instagram and
okay, yeah,
TikTok.
That makes sense.
The group again, the Facebook group is a thing where people will gather. Like that's
Right.
I don't know if they're just going on Facebook and posting, but they like going to the group for this
Phil's
reason.
theory was this: is that a lot of these younger, I call them kids, but the 20-somethings, go on. They're on Facebook now because it's a way for them to stay in touch with family without actually having to talk to family. So, like,
I
they
like
can
it that
see
way. That sure.
So
I
that,
really do.
if they see that Aunt Bertha went to the reunion and brought
Put
a
a
nice
picture of the
casserole,
grandkids.
they hit the like button and say, "Oh, that's great, Auntie. Nice to see you." And that once they're on Facebook to stay connected with family, then Facebook will direct them, if they're into food and restaurants, to the Let's Eat group. So that's his theory: is that
it's a good
there is
group.
some sort of
You're onto something.
synergy there.
You need to make that negotiation there so that we have the rights to it. Somehow, Lubie and I want a piece also, since we feel responsible
A
for
piece of
at
what?
least
Of the
creating.
20-somethings or of whatever
I
fantasy
mean, I don't know.
phantom
That's
revenue?
below my
I'm
mathematical
married to a
formula
20-something.
for age differential here. 72. Look, I'm looking at 43 is the
Yeah, I
bottom
know.
line.
That's you got your magic
Yeah.
formula. Can you repeat it again so I have to know
You take
what
your age, divide it in two, which would be 36, coming
Mhm.
up in a couple of weeks, not even now, and add 7 years,
At
whatever
7.
your
So
age is, and that's the youngest woman that you should go for if you're an older guy.
right. So my number now is about like
57.
36,
You got
37.
what?
Yeah, 36.
28 and a hook
Yeah.
plus 7, so 35,
36.
36. Yeah.
Okay.
36. I would round up.
I would give
36.
you a little bit of leeway there because the category is smaller than it is, when you're in the universe of being elderly and feeble, and more inclined to passing out
I just
than
told
to
you not to
bringing a
you
woman
don't
to
want to
orgasm. Yeah.
All right. On that note, I got to get
yeah,
out
we
of
got to
here.
get out of here. Yeah. Go talk to Dick Steen and don't be too pissed off when we see you on the show at 12.
Oh no, I'm in a happy mood today. I'm
Okay,
going to be
good. Yeah, no, you seem good. I
preparing
mean,
racing
that's good.
forms, and I will be betting live during the show on Royal Ascot through my phone. I'll throw a little money in there. We got
Dollar
some
exact to
checks this week.
$5,000 there, the first race yesterday. That was great. Sheldon G turned us on to that.
Yeah,
And
that's all good.
I'm looking and thinking, it would have been viable because I believe an 8-5 favorite might have run third. So there are times where you consider, and this would have been difficult because it was a 27 horse field. So you would have had to go. What's 26 times 25? So about 650, something like that.
I can't do the math that
Okay,
quick.
I think it's in that area.
Okay.
And of course, any degenerate could come up with a number there. But so if you had spent 650, right on the button. So if you had spent 650 to put the favorite in third with everybody, you would have walked away with the $5,000. I don't know that it would be worth it at that point because you had to catch a wild set of circumstances to bring about that kind of payout.
You would have.
Oh
to
no,
have
the
a-
try was 25,000. 25,000.
But you'd have to have a pretty big bankroll to start hitting the
People
all
do it
buttons
though.
and
Kids
30
are doing it.
These races are crazy. They have like 30 horse.
All
fields.
and the favorite, my friend. Get
Yeah.
you 25 dimes. That's all you had to do, Mike. Man.
That's all you had to do.
All right.
That's
All right. We'll do that later on.
crazy.
We'll see if we can win some money at the
We love
tournament.
you, man.
We'll see you there, man.
See you in a little bit.
Okay.
All good. Later.
Order something healthy. All right. Bye. Mike.
No,
Man,
don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, don't tell him
Don't
to order
tell him
something
that.
healthy?
So fucking do that. I don't mind being healthy, but I don't want him because he
Oh,
goes,
no. You don't want him
goes-
ordering for you. Yeah. Because he'll order stuff
goes
that he wants.
overboard.
Yeah.
I know how to control myself. I can get a really fatty, shitty thing and only eat a quarter. It's not my fault that everything he eats, he has to at least eat 3/4 or all of it. That's not my fault. I don't want to get punished.
Did you see that pile of shit that he had on his plate yesterday? I mean, people should go back and look at that show. That would be worth seeing. Did we ever get a picture of that?
I have
the kid's plate that he leaves because he tries a little of everything.
Which is
but
fine.
then he schmutzes
that's
all over the stuff so that we have to leave the rest of it. Which I mean, never mind having some consideration for others. All right, but that's the way it goes. And meanwhile, he's getting all the chicks, and we're here starving. Unbelievable. All right, we'll see you guys 12 o'clock today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, Gulfstream Park. We'll have some fun out there betting the races, and then of course I end up leaving there about 4 o'clock. Usually dead broke, but still haven't. No, I've been doing okay. I've been hanging in there. We'll see. Maybe Andy will come out and join us. That would be nice. It'd be good to see this kid.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you guys later. Thanks. Had a lot of fun on the show today. Professor, brilliant. The Greek was on his game. Sean Devaney, thanks for joining us. And the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, in a mellow mood. For Mike Lubie Lewitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we're leaving out that.
The time.
Degenerate Friday. It's 9:06.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
My soul.